Saturday, continued summer-like out there, mainly dry and continued hot for the afternoons and highs into the upper 80s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm Storm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
New Go Radio 92.7.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Beautiful people here in the city of Chattanooga. Y'all know what it is, Marie with Marie Mott Show. And today is a day jam-packed with people here in the studio. And I love that because, you know why? Because everybody can't come up here. I love having people who are impacting Chattanooga and the surrounding areas for change and for difference. And so I do have somebody here, Miss Sam, who is representing Dr. Mitchell and crew, who has like linked me up with Dr. Mitchell, who will be here next Tuesday, chopping it up with me. And I'm so excited. I'm gonna have a congressional candidate in the studio with me. But it's more than just having a congressional candidate. I was very, very impressed when I sat down at the spot last week and actually got to hear Dr. Mitchell's backstory and her personal experience. Man, how did you end up getting involved, and what piqued your interest in supporting Dr. Mitchell and working for the campaign?
Yeah, so I think really it harkens back to the Women's March earlier this year. I was one of the primary organizers for the Women's March this year in Chattanooga. And Dr. Mitchell was really supportive of that and came and spoke. And that's actually when I met Dr. Mitchell. She actually became my physician thereafter. So a little bit of a tie in there too. But actually, I'm the director of the Chattanooga Queer Community Forum. The Chattanooga's LGBTQ advocacy organization. And something that we were doing was something called Queer the Vote for the primaries and the local general elections. So oftentimes LGBT folks struggle with elections because they may feel intimidated to go to the polls alone. Maybe they don't know who to vote for. They don't really know who's going to best represent them. So we kind of bridged that gap for them, right? We were able to drive people to the polls. We were able to put a voting guide together and get people information about the candidates, which is still available, by the way. Taking my Dr. Mitchell hat off for a second, you can still check that out at chattaquery.com. But that aside, actually, the way that Dr. Mitchell and I kind of first interacted on this level was I actually interrogated her for
interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
I like that
for that voting guide. Yeah, of course. We asked tough questions of all the candidates, and she continued to impress me. Obviously I'm not gonna talk a lot about her backstory because I don't want to steal her thunder for next week. So, folks will have to tune in and hear from her. But me personally, I left. I had a pretty solid job, but I left that job to work on the campaign because I believe in her. I believe not only that she's an amazing woman, she's a physician, and she's out there caring for 1,500 people in her healthcare clinic that she started as a small business owner. So she's out there taking care of people every week. And she's been in medicine for 20 years, and she's really something else. She's been to every single county, every of the 11 counties in the district, which is one of the most, yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the most gerrymandered districts you'll ever see. You should check it out online sometime. Just search for Tennessee's 3rd Congressional District. It stretches all the way up to the northern Tennessee border around La Follette and Union and Campbell counties. Here in Chattanooga, she's going on a listening tour. So you were at one of those stops at the Highland Park Town Hall, but she's going to be having other town halls in the coming weeks. We're getting one set up in Alton Park. We're getting one set up in about on Highway 58. We're getting one set up on hopefully in the veteran community at a VFW or American Legion post. Details TBD. But really the difference with her is, she's actually out there in the community, listening to what people have to say, getting in front of people and hearing their concerns, and showing up for people everywhere.
Absolutely. And so she is running against incumbent, the infamous Chuck Fleischman, correct?
Yes, yeah. So Chuck is the current congressional representative. He's a Republican incumbent, and if it escapes me how long he's been in office, but it's been a while.
A long time.
Yeah, and I've lived here most of my life. Grew up in this area, and I had never even seen the man until a week or two ago, and that's only because of the campaign. So.
And was that not at like Chattanooga State? Oh,
yeah. So he came.
I've never met him before. I've never seen him involved in anything.
Yeah, I mean, he came to Chat State to Constitution Day there, and we had an interesting encounter. He got up and spoke to the students, and we did the same. But he actually left before Dr. Mitchell said her piece, so he wasn't able to hear her response. But I'm sure that his campaign staff that hung around conveyed that back to him. But anyway, Chuck Fleischman aside, really, what Dr. Mitchell is trying to do is be a congresswoman for everybody. And I think that, she has outraised, she's only taking money from individual contributions, no money from corporations, no money from PACs. Yep. Okay. Yep. And it's a completely grassroots campaign. And we've raised, even doing that, more than any Democratic candidate for this seat since Marilyn Lloyd was in office back in the 90s. So the rocket ship is lit, and it's getting kicked out there. In fact, our fundraising has been to the point where we're actually hiring right now. So we're actually hiring folks to go out and knock on doors and get out in the community between now and voter registration deadline. And you'll actually see our people out there in Eastlake tonight from 4 to 8. So if you're in Eastlake and you get a knock on the door from somebody with a Dr. Mitchell shirt, they're out there to say hello. They're actually going to be going out and doing voter registration, because those Eastlake precinct, 70% of the people that are eligible to vote there are not registered to vote, which is crazy to me. But at the same time, we know exactly why that is. We know exactly why that is, because those communities have been left behind by politicians. They've been left behind by the establishment for decades. And we want to do something different. We want to go there and lift their voices up and remind them that their voices matter, get them registered to vote, pull them into the process. Because unlike presidential politics, every single voice counts here. It's not, if I get Iowa, I win. It's every single person's vote counts. It is in the last election where Chuck Fleischman was going up against, actually in the Republican primaries, he only won by 1,500 votes. So that's what we're talking about here, right? Like the margins, we're not a red state. We are a non-voting state. We are dead last in the nation for voter turnout. We're 50th. And Hamilton County is 95th in the state for voter turnout. And there's only 95 counties in Tennessee. So we have to do better. And doing better means showing up for our people, listening to what they have to say, making them feel like their voices actually matter in this process.
Hold up. Doing better is what? Doing better is what? Because some people think doing better is repackaging the same garbage and and selling it to the same community. What is doing better? Say that again for the people who
doing better is showing up for everybody in every community, going into communities where people have not been heard for decades and reminding them that their voices matter, that they need to be a part of this process too, that they are an instrumental part of our democracy, and that they have been abandoned for far too long by this establishment.
Man, oh man. It's kind of interesting you're talking about that, and you did inbox me after the show yesterday. The problem that I have, and I think this is the problem that people have with politics in general, especially in the state of Tennessee, is that people think that repackaging the same garbage going to the same people is the strategy for winning. And it does work. Why? Because they understand that if we leave out those gerrymandered districts and communities, if they ever got a candidate who was for the people, by the people, it's a downhill situation.
And I mean, and voter suppression is real. If you look at the way that that states that have implemented voter ID laws are using those to suppress voters. Tennessee has voter ID laws that negatively impact the LGBT community, negatively impact people of color and people in poverty, and really, like, there are so many other ways that they advantage themselves at the expense of the people. But I think the way that we changed that, I was at Black Voters Matter event at Barking Legs a couple of weeks ago, and Ashley Henderson said something that really, really like grabbed at my heart. Right. So she said, if somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night, you don't have a gun, you don't have a knife, but there's a brick on the ground. What are you going to use?
The brick.
You're going to use the brick. And in voting election process, that's the brick. It's not perfect. It's not a silver bullet. It's got plenty of problems. But if you use the brick, you have power, and that's where we can rise up together.
Absolutely, man. Y'all not ready for this revolution that's on the way. Dr. Mitchell, oh my goodness. She is so impressive, but there is never what is always impressive about seeing what I say, these few and far between candidates are the people who are willing to jump on board and stand behind them. So what are some of the things that that it's going to take? Like, how can the community step up to help Dr. Mitchell get into Congress?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways, right? So obviously the bulk of any election like this, where it's a grassroots campaign, we're scrappy. We're working only from individual contributions from people like you and me. It's not coming from corporations or PACs, and so what that means is that our resources are limited. So we have to have a lot of volunteers out there working for this election. So that's people to make phone calls, people to knock on doors. We've even got a campaign called Postcards to Voters, where we're actually handwriting postcards. We've done probably close to 10,000 of them so far, and we're ordering another. We've got another 5,000 on the table right now. So we're actually having volunteers come in and handwrite postcards, telling another voter in the district why they think that Dr. Mitchell is an important candidate. So they're going to get a handwritten postcard in the mail, and that's a pretty awesome experience, I think. But
hold on one second. Good morning. Talk to me. Got a caller?
Okay.
Hey, I know Dr. Mitchell. She's a wonderful person. But as I told the Libertarian candidate, you guys are wasting your time.
How's that?
When you know you're not going to win, because you know you have no chance of winning, you use this opportunity to educate people on your views. And I told that to the Libertarian candidate. You know you have like zero chance of winning. So just saying I'm a great person, vote for me, you're wasting an opportunity here, even though I disagree with everything the Democrat Party stands for. But I love her personally, but, obviously we do, and I love my mom, but I didn't agree with anything she stood for politically, because she was, I believe, a Democrat and believed in killing unborn babies and, everything that the Democratic Party believes in. So what I'm saying is, if you want to use your time wisely during elections, use this time to promote your agenda, because do you really think you're going to win, honestly?
Actually, yeah, I really do. I think that, I think
you really do.
I really do. I think, like I said, I came from a background working in disaster response, and my last job was working for a tech company. And, I left that job because I believe that Dr. Mitchell can win. And not only do I believe she can win, I think she's going to. Like I said before earlier, I don't know if you missed this, but we've raised more than any other candidate since Marilyn Lloyd was in office. And Marilyn Lloyd was in office for 20 years. This, like I've said before, this is not a red state. It's a non-voting state. The people do not participate in the process.
And let's frame that for a moment. Let's frame that, because you trying to play devil's advocate. So let's go with that. So we're not a red state. We are a non-voting state, which means that people have the ability to swing just about any direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what are people looking for? People, and this is my firm belief and what I talked about yesterday. People are looking for individuals, number one, I truly believe, that want to serve. That want to serve. So people think, and I think maybe this is where a lot of people get caught up. A lot of people get into trouble, and then when people win, they win by small margins. It's not because that person is just the most best outstanding candidate. It's because people have been A, cut out of the process, and B, people kind of like where I was in a conflict of the presidential election. So they had to choose between two devils, and I didn't vote because I didn't have anybody that I could connect with besides Bernie Sanders. Exactly. And it was like, I'm done with that.
The thing, and talking to you, sir, the thing that I saw, well, first of all, I think the Democratic Party is just as guilty in upholding a lot of these negative institutions and systems as the Republican Party. I think our current system is certainly has a lot of room for improvement on that front. So don't think that we're just out there beating the Democratic drum. Dr. Mitchell is a very nuanced candidate. She's got a lot of nuanced set of beliefs, and I would encourage you to take a look at that because I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. That said, Dr. Mitchell. So if you look at the last general election here a couple months ago, it was a primary for federal and state candidates. It was general for local candidates. Aloise Brown almost took half the vote. So you're telling me that you don't think that a Democratic female can win in this district? But I'm telling you that one almost did in this county for county mayor.
First time ever doing it.
Yeah. First time running for an election, not a politician, almost unseated at a decade-long Republican incumbent. So if you don't think that Dr. Mitchell can win, I point to people like Aloise Brown. I point to people like her because she ran an amazing grassroots campaign, just like Dr. Mitchell is running, and she lost, but she got close. And you know what Dr. Mitchell has that Aloise Brown didn't have? She has rural communities behind her. She's been going to every single county in this district, and she has people, even moderate Republicans like yourself, have crossed the aisle to vote for Dr. Mitchell because they believe in what she stands for, and they believe in a candidate that they can access that will actually represent them. And Dr. Mitchell's not just running to represent Democrats. She's running to represent this district and the people in it.
People. It's not about parties. It's about
country before party all the way. And I know that that's what I believe, and I know that that's what she believes too.
Right, because at the end of the day, and to me, this is where people miss the windows or those perfect conditions. And I believe that we're there. People are frustrated. People are hurting. Mm-hmm. People know they know that they've been left out of the process, and all they're waiting for, all they want, is that person to come do like this. I'm telling you, I've heard this out of the mouth of people. Well, I didn't vote, or I just voted for somebody because nobody else who was running against them came and knocked on my door, and the incumbent came and knocked on my door, or the incumbent. It wasn't because they believed in them. Number one, they didn't see that connection, and that's the important thing. And when you serve people, the connection becomes easy.
Yeah, and I mean that's I have a background. I have a lifetime of public service. Doing disaster response work, doing community organizing and activism, and now this. And from my perspective, people, most of the people that we brought onto the campaign, I'll tell you this: they're veterans, they're active National Guard. They're folks that have first responders or medical people. There are people that have a service-minded background. There are people who want to continue to serve their communities and serve their country. And I could not be more proud to work with the team that I'm working with. And what's really interesting too is talking about whether or not you can win. You throw a bunch of veterans at a problem. there's not a whole lot that they can't solve. So don't bite your tongue too hard because we're in striking distance and we're going to get there.
Exactly. And it's not about what you're up against. It's always about who do you have behind you. Who do you have behind you? I mean, when we look at just this year alone, we had Kathleen Jeter, who toppled Beck. I mean, like, we're seeing those historical. If people, the first thing is just connecting with the people, getting boots on the ground, going and talking to people, connecting with people,
walking your shoes
until they're. But the other side of that is not just doing that, but being completely genuine about why you're doing it.
And I mean, I think that's something that's really, really struck me about Dr. Mitchell. The caller brought up the standard Republican concerns with the Democratic candidate, right? It's like guns and abortion, right? And I think one of the things that really surprises me when Dr. Mitchell, or has surprised me so far, when Dr. Mitchell goes into, like, let's say Polk County and talks to folks there, they bring up those concerns, and she has amicable conversations with them. I've never seen her get into a heated argument with somebody about either of those issues. I mean, she is a concealed carry permit holder, for God's sake. She's pro Second Amendment. But she's also pro common sense gun laws, universal background checks, the things that 80% of America supports. It's a no-brainer, it's like the scare tactics are not working anymore. And so people try to continue to use them,
But that's because people are ready to pick up the brick.
Yeah, absolutely. People are ready to take a break. And not only that, but when someone looks somebody in the face and says, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not coming to take your guns. I'm a concealed carry permit owner myself, but I think we need to change this to make our country safer. People get on that. There's like a personal connection at that level that people don't normally get when they see the rhetoric from the national stage, when they watch the news and they get this like talking head syndrome.
But and this is why it's important to listen to language. She said, I think, meaning she's leaving room to have that discussion with people.
Yeah.
To possibly have her mind changed if she sees that there's a better option than what she has firmly believed.
Speaking from myself, I think that if you made up your mind 100% about anything, you stop looking for the truth.
And we're not going to take the call because we're closing down on the last 15 seconds. How can people just jump in and help? Go.
Yeah, so you can go to mitchellforcongress.com, and that's Mitchell with the number 4. I didn't do that, I promise. mitchellforcongress.com. And you can read about Dr. Mitchell. You can watch a video about her story and her background, and you can sign up to volunteer. So if you feel like donating to the campaign and you don't have the time to volunteer, that's totally fine. Feel free to do that because that funds our efforts with getting people hired, getting people out and boots on the ground. And every single dollar counts, every single vote counts, and every single voice counts. So use yours.
It's your girl Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. No one's taking the time to tell you that they love you. I love you.
Me too.
Nothing that you can do about it.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A man was found by police bleeding from a gunshot wound to his torso. The victim telling police he was sitting outside when he was approached by several students and was shot. The victim rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Detectives on the case trying to find the culprit. Charges have been filed after 5 students were hospitalized at Brainerd High. A Brainerd student is reportedly expelled and